Back on. All right, so today we are going to talk about part 3 of the advanced. We're getting into more of the advanced stuff with the phone prospecting. So for Leslie and Andrew, you have to go back and you can watch the recordings. I sent you the materials, a lot of scripts and dialogugs, but today we're just going to dive into. Well, I'm going to mute you. I'm getting somewhere. There we go. So today we're going to dive into the third part of it, the advanced part, so which isn't really that advanced. So it's all stuff that we should be doing anyways. So let me go ahead and do a share screen and we'll pull up the PowerPoint. And depending on how much sharing we do, we may not actually go the full hour either. So I wanted to break this class down into 3 parts, just we would have an opportunity to really dive into it and really talk about it, because prospecting is one of those things that it's a must, right? It's a vital part of what we do as realtors, but it is, to me, in coaching and training, it's the one thing that gets blown off the easiest, right? We have a fire, we have a personal thing, and like every day I get that KV Core email, and I just am, everything going on in my life right now, I just cannot bring myself to make calls, right? And so I get that. I understand when we see stuff that we should be doing, but we're not doing, right? Rick Ramirez was absolutely brilliant yesterday on the gas call, and I know Roberta was on there, and so was Audrey, and he said that don't say what you should do, because if you say what you should do, you should say later in the day, like, what did you actually do, right? Because if you say I know what to do, do you? Do you know what to do? And Roberta, I'm probably not even saying it quite the way Rick did yesterday, but do we know what to do? Like later it should be, I knew what to do and I went and did it, right? And so actually taking action. So prospecting is one of those things to me that is a big rock and should not be blown off, right? It should be non-negotiable in our life that we do every single day, no matter what, right? No matter what's happening in our life or in our business, it's something we should be doing every single day, because prospecting is how we get business, right? It's how we fill our pipeline. And so it's this particular topic is very passionate to me, just because it's so critical and such an important thing that we do in our businesses. So that being said, those of you who jumped in, I'll send you the class materials when we're off share here. All right, so advanced prospecting skills, the 5 steps to success. So we've talked a lot about these things already in the first 2 classes, but just wrapping it up here is that it's got to be in your calendar. And as Burl Workman says, is identify what's your biological prime time. So when are you the best at your, you feel good? Is it morning? Is it midday? Is it afternoon? Is it evening? When do you feel the best? I personally like to get my prospecting done in the morning, right? Before noon, because if I don't, then it tends to, just like going to the gym. If you don't do it first thing in the morning, are you going to go later in the day? Some people do, but you're more likely to check off exercise if you do it first thing in the day, right? So same thing with scheduling your prospecting. It's got to be in your calendar. We live by our calendars. So if it's not in your calendar, it has a high probability of getting blown off. So step 1 is identify, when do you feel your best? When do you feel like that I'm on my game and I'm had my coffee, got my hair done, whatever that is, that makes you feel good, right? That you can actually feel your best. And then becoming your best. We're going to talk about that a little bit more too. And then looking forward, what does that look like as far as your advanced prospecting skills? And then handling objections. Am I practicing my scripts and dialogues so that I can handle objections appropriately? I think all of you have probably heard someone say in the last couple weeks is that I would love to move, but I'd love to buy a home, but I had a Zillow lead, interestingly enough, because I am not active on Zillow, call me a couple days ago, actually text me and said, hey, Sarah, I'm thinking about buying a home. Would you be able to help me? Didn't have the number saved, obviously, right? Zillow lead. So I texted back and I didn't hear anything. And then he texted me. All right, yesterday I was just wrapping up my day. I'm like, oh, I need to follow up with that lead. I called the guy. He's an investor. And I just blew the guy's mind with my idea of what would be a good investment right now. And that's the new homes, new home construction. And so he's going to talk to his guy. And we're supposed to talk tomorrow, the next day, and just kind of formulate a plan. So handling objections, right? I told him, he's thinking about buying and flipping. Is today, right now in this market, a good time to buy and flip? No, it's not, right? But because this is not every day at the office for him, I was able to educate him. So by knowing, and the reason I'm sharing this is by knowing what's happening in the market, I was able to educate this guy in an idea that blew his mind. Like I could literally hear the guy stumbling over his words, on the phone. And at first, you get a Zillow lead. Is it really a legit lead? He's a legit guy. And so, and by advising him and giving him stuff, he was really blown away. So we have to know the market. We have to know our scripts and dialogues. I'm sorry, you guys, I threw my back out, so I'm in massive pain right now. So handling our objections. So having scripts and dialogues to do that. Okay. And then lastly, I saved this in the middle here because our attitude is the most important thing. If you think that the market is bad and you don't think it's a good time to own a home, then that's the vibe you're putting off, and that's what you're attracting into your life. So we are flying around this planet. It's a giant magnetic force, and so like attracts like, right? So whatever you think is true for you is what is true for you. So you have to check your attitude and live in a world of abundance. We talk about that. That's one of the core values in Momentum, is that I live in a world of abundance. That's one of my personal mantras I say on a regular basis. Right. And I live in a world of abundance. Roberta taught me an affirmation that says, I am healthy, wealthy, wise, and free. All the good that I am seeking is also seeking me. That's a great one too, right? Just to have those affirmations and those things you can say to yourself that when you're in a funk, because gratitude and affirmations, we can't have a low vibe and be in gratitude. Can't. It's incongruent. Right. And so in this business, we have to have an attitude of gratitude, and we have to have an attitude of abundance. Right. All right, so scheduling, if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't happen. Do we agree with that? I think so. I put stuff in my calendar all the time just to remind myself to do things, just because, we forget, right? And life happens. So it's got to be in your calendar. You have to do it every day. Every day, you guys. Those of you who are new, I think 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon. Those of you that are seasoned, at least 1 hour every day. And it doesn't have to be hard. Prospecting could be looking at who's got a birthday today. Just pick up the phone and call them and say happy birthday. I remember years ago, I did that with a lady. Her name was Yolanda, and I sold Yolanda a lot of real estate. And she had 6 kids, and not one of her children had called her that day. And it was like 10 in the morning. I just called her to say happy birthday. And she cried. She actually cried on the phone because I was the first person to call and wish her a happy birthday. So there's a lot of power in that, right? And that's a form of prospecting, just picking up the phone and calling someone to say happy birthday. It's the most important. It's just as important as having an appointment with a client. Right? It's in your calendar. It's vital, you guys. If there's anything you take from this class, is please prospect every single day. KV Core spoon feeds you 10 names every day automatically of people in your database to call. Okay. You need to have time set aside, clear your calendar, focus entirely on that time. I know you've heard me say this before, but Brandon Burchard wrote a book called High Performance Habits, and they scientifically were able to prove that as adults, 45 minutes is kind of our saturation point, that we can only really focus for about 45 minutes before we get distracted, our energy level drops. And so he advocates to time block in 45-minute increments, and then take a 10-minute break. Take a 10-minute break, get up, drink some water, walk around, stretch, watch a funny cat video if that's your thing, and then come back to it. So, because then it's been proven that by taking that break, it actually revitalizes your energy level. Okay. So I know that a lot of us have good intentions to sit down and I'm going to power through for 3 hours. It's not possible, right? You're setting yourself up for failure, and you're just not going to have the success that you want to have. So 45-minute increments, take a break. Okay. Commitment is key. Got to commit to it. Evaluate your prospecting efforts at the end of each day, and you got to let it go. We're going to talk more about that. And set specific objectives, right? Visualize the outcome. If you're sitting down, Leslie, in front of your computer, you're gonna prospect for an hour. Visualize the outcome. Take a minute and just think, what do I want to happen as a result of this, right? As a result of making these phone calls, what do I want to have happen? Anytime you call is better than anytime you don't. Because that's the big question, right? Is when is the best time to prospect? I think when are you at your best? That's first and foremost. And then secondly, any time is better than no time. Okay. So preparation is more important than when you call. So the key to success is putting prospecting first. Call and have something to say. So Ford, right? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. We're going right into summer right now. School just got out. So people, what are you doing for the summer? Where are your kids going to be spending what summer camps, right? There's always something to talk about. Facebook, stalk them, right? Find something that's happening in their life on Facebook and that be your talking point. I did that. It was during the pandemic with one of my past clients, and she had just gotten a dog. So I was like, oh my God, Mason, I love puppy breath, right? And it was a great way to have the conversation, because who's not going to talk about their dog? right? You guys, if you haven't been on Hustle lately, or their cats, Leslie, you and I got that in common. If you haven't been on Hustle lately, remaxhustle.com, there is some new videos out, and the Zoom one with the dog is fantastic, and it's a great one to do for reels. So definitely go on there and check that out. That's content that's available to you guys. It's branded, it's national campaign stuff. So when they see it on the TV commercials, streaming, wherever, now they see it on your social media. It's just that brand awareness. Okay, so some really great content that's on Hustle. So be sure to deliver the right message with clarity, and being, just don't be sing-songy, don't be desperate, right? Be confident. Be mindful of the prospect before you call, right? 5:30 is dinner time, right? It says 5 to 6, but to me, 5:30 is dinner time. So I don't personally like to call that late. So between 8 and 12 is kind of the recommended time, or again, later in the day, I would say 4 to 6, 4 to 5, because that's kind of commute time for people. Personally, like I said, I think after 5 is dinner time. So put yourself in their shoes for a minute. What time of day would be best for them? Right? When are they busy? Are they at work? Are they traveling? What's good for them? So what is the most likely time that they would be available? So again, certain times, 8 to 12, and if you got people in different time zones, but I really think that the best time is when you'll actually do it. So I like to do it between 9 and 10, get it out of the way, get it done for the day. Okay. There's no perfect time or day of the week to make calls. Just be thoughtful of who you're calling. And that will improve your odds for success. On a side note, Barb Henderson used to farm an area. I think she's still farming it. And she would pay a guy to deliver her newsletter on a Saturday. So on a Saturday, because why? Because people are out doing stuff in their yards on Saturdays, right? Cleaning the car, cleaning the yard, whatever, kids are playing. And so he would actually book appointments for her because, people would interact with him, and he was a friendly guy. And so he would actually get appointments booked for her. So thinking about that, I don't know why that popped in my head. One of you guys needed to hear that. So popped in my head. So whoever needed to hear it, run with it. Is a great idea. All right, so handling objections. So people will trust and follow what you logically and tangibly explain. So a smarter approach is to have an internalized system that prevents common problems from ever occurring. So know this above all else. Allow sellers to discover why you are different, right? A lot of times we put so much pressure on ourselves to be this expert and to be the know-all of everything. And really what it boils down to is that we just be good leaders, right? Just be a good leader. And what does a leader have? They have confidence, right? They have humility. And so if you don't know what a good leader is, maybe check that out and try to figure out, how do I be a good leader, right? Because that's how we allow sellers to discover that you're different, right? And to be a leader means that I can successfully navigate this with you and help you get your home sold, okay? We want to be tangible. So we want to move beyond opinions, right? Opinions, we want to look at facts. What are the facts? And the facts are the data, right? The data doesn't lie. Be a strategist. So we want to be logical. Selling a home, buying a home, very emotional. There's a lot of emotions involved, even for investors. I mean, investors are a little bit less emotional than homeowners, but it still can be very stressful. Okay. We want to track your results. So you want to be accountable. If you've ever been on a diet, what's the one thing they tell you to do, right? Track your calories, check your water, track your steps, and then improve your results. We want to be intentional. So every day, ask yourself, what is it that I need to do today? And then go do it. And then cause your results. So to be proactive just means that I'm producing action, right? So sellers, they want to work with people that they know, like, and trust, and who can get the job done, right? So most agents work on overcoming objections. Successful consultants work on preventing objections. You guys have heard me tell the story of this lady. It was a while ago. I had this listing, and she had gone through just a lot of crap. And when I was on the phone with her, she probably, I would say, at least 3 times said, this house is not going to pay someone's salary for a year, meaning commission, right? So I went to the appointment thinking, I'm just going to get beat up on commission, right? Because she said it multiple times in the conversation on the intake call. Well, I got to the appointment and I just let her vent about her previous experiences. And she'd been through a short sale and a foreclosure. And they just had a lot of stuff that had happened to them. Husband had a heart attack. It was just a lot, right? So I just let the lady vent for almost 2 hours. And by the time we got ready to do the listing paperwork, we got to commission. And I am not kidding you. She said to me, is that enough commission? Really curious, right? And attribute that to the fact that I just let her vent, right? I let her tell me all the horrible things that had happened to her and her process, and how, and apologizing that I'm sorry you had that experience, And so sometimes we have things that we think we're going to go in with these objections, and it really boils down to just letting them have an ear to talk to, right? Just letting them have a safe space to tell you what happened, and then how are you going to help them not have that happen again. Okay. So love that story. Unfortunately, it never sold because it was overpriced and she didn't want to do a short sale. So never to get paid on that one, but it's still a great story about commission. So disposition. So you need to be confident, not cocky, not arrogant, confident, right? Be open to suggestions. You guys have heard me say this before. One of my favorite scripts is just the word "oh," because I can say "oh" in a lot of different ways, Leslie, that gets you to give me more information, right? We want to shut up and listen. Go deeper with things. Tell me more about that, right? What was your previous experience? We want to be aware. We want to be proactive. You want to be unique. Every single one of you on the Zoom call has something unique about you. None of us are the same. So be unique, right? Let that be seen. Lean in on your previous experiences to provide you with, skill today, right? Be likable. This is super important, to be likable, right? Be organized. Don't walk into a listing appointment in chaos, right? You want to be honest. This is one of our code of ethics, of course. Be approachable, right? Are you approachable? Do you talk to people, random strangers in the store? I do, right? I do. I love to strike up random conversations with people. Okay. Structured, be intentional, and be focused. And lastly, passionate. Are you passionate about this? I think this is the coolest job next to being a rock star. So I'm very passionate about it, right? And I'm passionate that I get to share my Tuesdays with you guys and share the knowledge of this. Okay. So sellers are attracted to professionals that they believe can get results. Back in the day, Nate used to have a bag that said Nate Martinez team listed or sold a house every 23 hours. And that was an important statistic because at the time, the average days on market was about 64 days. So if you're able to say, Roberta, that your team can get results faster than the average, that now puts you in demand, right? Because sellers want to work with agents who can get results. You must demonstrate that you possess the knowledge, skills, and disposition to get the job done. So objections. So sellers work with those they know, like, and trust. So in your materials, you have scripts for how did you find my number? I already have an appointment with another agent. I need to talk to my spouse. I'm going to sell it myself for sell by owner. We're using the same agent. That's if it has expired. Will you lower your commission? You guys, we've said this before. Do not talk commission on the phone. My script is great, just to say that, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking that. However, that's unfair of me to answer that on the phone without seeing your home first and knowing a little bit more about your situation, because I like to tailor make my commission packages based on your needs. Right. And if you say that, now that takes the pressure off of it. And a lot of times, by the time we get to commission, that's never even a conversation, right? It's never an objection, right? If it's expired and they say we're going to wait, take it off the market, when again expired, you're the 20th agents to call me. Why are you calling me? Expires are kind of tricky on when's the best time to call. Some people are right on it, like first day. I think, it's not a bad idea to go back 3 to 5 years on expireds. If they haven't relisted with someone and sold, they're not angry anymore. And a lot of them still have a desire to sell. And so it's not a bad idea to go back into the expireds a little bit and not necessarily focus on the ones that are hot off the press. Okay. Because those guys you got to have some tough skin to work those expireds because they've just had their house on the market 6 months. They're mad, they're irritated, right? So scripts objections. So having scripts for the most common objections, that will help you become a better prospector. You guys, I think I mentioned this in the last class, but in fact, it was just on TV reruns, Seinfeld episode where George they were the guy says to him that he's eating shrimp, and they're in a board meeting and he's eating shrimp, and the coworker says to him, "Hey, George, the shrimp store called and they're running out of shrimp," or something along those lines, right? So the whole episode, the character George, spends trying to recreate an opportunity so he can say that the jerk store called and they're running out of you. Right? He spends a whole episode trying to figure out how to recreate this moment. And so I like using that example because when we're in a situation where we have a question asked and we don't know what to say, right? We spend the rest of the day going, I wish I would have said that, right? Trying to recreate that moment. So when you have scripts that makes you just roll off the tongue, right? Makes you look so good, and you don't get caught up with that deer in the headlights and then waiting for later to say that the jerk store called and they're running out of you. So memorize your scripts for every different scenario, right? And then using scripts puts you at ease. And again, just makes you sound polished. So we're not going to role play. But I would love for you guys to think about, reading these and, practicing them. There was a gal that took my class many years ago, and she actually recorded herself reading the scripts. And as she was driving around, she would listen to them. And I don't know, I don't like listening to the sound of my own voice, but what a great idea. And I bet there's probably some AI technology that you could record those things into an app and then play them on your phone as you're driving around. All right, so core beliefs. So some of you have seen these already because you've taken momentum classes, but our core beliefs is that there is no growth without discomfort. Do we all agree with that? I do, right? You think about, you go to the gym, you flex your muscles and use weights. There's discomfort in that, but it creates growth, right? It creates healthiness. Number 2 is, again, one of my personal mantras is I live in a world of abundance. The market will not determine my income. I had one of my best years it was either 2007 or 2008 when literally the sky was falling. But every day I said to myself, I live in a world of abundance, right? My perception is my reality. And so when you live in that space, right, where my perception is my reality, then you don't get affected by what everything else is happening around you. If your mind is crystal clear on what your perception is of your reality, then stuff doesn't infiltrate that, right? Time is the only limit. I think we can all agree with that. We don't know. Tomorrow might be it for you. So time is the only limit. Focus is the key to success. You reap what you sow. So what you put out there is what you get back. And so the more we do, the more we get back. The more prospecting you do, the more you get back. Rick had said yesterday that he's on a blitz right now of doing calls. So he does pop buys, calls, and phone, note cards. That's his business plan. His pop buys, phone calls, note cards. And so just getting out and getting face to face with people, I think it's brilliant, right? There's no rocket science to that at all. Systems or success stems from duplicated and processes. If you go to McDonald's and you get a small cup, a small soda, they've been taught that they know how much ice to put in that. And when they hit the small button, that cup will fill up right to where it needs to, not over, not under. And in the restaurant industry, waste is where you lose money, right? So systems, so having a listing presentation, having a buyer consultation, having, your CRMs, like those are all systems that when we duplicate it, that's when we have success, right? It's unacceptable for my business to earn $0. I think that you should put in your actual GCI goal, is that it's unacceptable for your business to earn less than whatever your GCI goal is. People have lived before you, right? That's the beautiful thing, right? We don't have to invent the wheel. The wheel's already been invented. Can we polish the wheel and make it a little better? Sure, we can. But the basics of what we're doing here, you guys, is not rocket science. Leverage is the key to abundance. And so when we think about $10, $20 activities that can be outsourced. Verl had said this at his presentation back in April, is we can't get you to $1 million producer if you're focused on $10 to, what do you say, $20 to $50 activities, right? Those things could be outsourced. So of course, looking at your budget and what's appropriate for your budget, but can you outsource things? I look at the example of like housekeeping. That's a place I leverage every month, right? I have someone come in and clean my house. Do I clean in between? Sure. But the deep cleaning gets done once a month by somebody else. And it's the best $150 I spend because it's not me doing it, right? I had a guy I coached, this was a few years ago, and he lives in Wisconsin. So he's got this gorgeous backyard with grass, and he lives on a lake. He's got a boat. And we were looking at his life and, what is it you want to improve on? He said, I want to spend more time with my daughter. And he's like, I want to spend the weekends on the lake with her. And I said, okay, great. So we started looking at where are you spending your time? And every other weekend he was spending several hours mowing his yard, like 3, 4, 5 hours, right? Because it's a huge yard on the riding lawnmower, right? And I said, well, that's a place you could cut out right there. That's 6 hours of time that you could spend with your daughter. And I said, how much would it cost you to pay someone to do that? He said, oh, probably about $300 a month. And I said, okay, well, let's do that. He goes, but it's not in the budget. This guy was a real high C personality. He's like, it's not that money is not in the budget to spend, right now. And I said, well, so what you're telling me is that 6 hours with your daughter, that she's not worth $300 a month. And he wasn't very happy with me when I said that, because it, is kind of a kick in the gut, but it's true, right? $300 or 600, 6 hours with your daughter on the lake, creating memories that are worth way more than $300 a month, right? So I love that story, because when we think about stepping over dollars to pick up dimes, right? What are the things in your life that you can outsource so that you can be freed up to do what you're best at, right? And Leslie, that's prospecting, that's putting deals together, right? And so leverage is the key to abundance. And so what areas of your life can you create leverage? It's a win-win or no deal, and then cost is only the issue in the absence of value. So just go back to my story of Susan with the commission. When I got there and I was able to demonstrate my value, commission no longer became an issue, right? Because she saw my value in being able to help her get her home sold was more valuable than the issue of the commission, right? So you have to ask yourself, when you sit down across the table from a seller, are you delivering enough value to warrant the X apples that you're going to charge them? And some of you have asked me for this before, but I'm gonna throw it out there again. Frank Russo, when he had his team, came up with like 110 things that the Russo team does when they list a home. If you want it, send me an email. I have it. I'll send it to you. It's brilliant. It winnows down as far as like, not just putting the house in the MLS, but making keys for the lockbox, paperwork, all these things. So it goes through very specifically, because there's a lot we do, right? So if you were to slide a piece of paper in front of a potential seller that says, here's the 110 things I'm going to do once you list your home with me, is there value in that? Absolutely. Right? Because they don't realize all the things that we do until we get into the trenches. People, if you've been in your house 10 years, 15 years, you don't remember, right? You don't remember all that stuff. And this is every day at the office for us. It's not for them, right? So we have to make sure that when you sit down in front of them, that you are delivering enough value that they're not going to balk you on commission. Okay. All right. So real estate sales beliefs. So real estate is a get rich business. Absolutely. Look at some of the most wealthy people in our world. How did they get wealthy? Through real estate. Right? It's through real estate, because there's so much to it, from developing to, rentals to new homes, resale, all of it, right? There's just a lot that we do with real estate. I know some of you give me pushback on it being basic. The contract itself is not basic, right? That it can be complex, but the concept we're talking about here is that real estate is basic in the sense that we are in the business of creating relationships, right? Creating relationships with people that will send you business and will do business with you. It is very much a task business, right? We know that we have our checklists, and Shannon's good about reminding us about what our tasks are. And then I will not convert 100% of the leads I do not generate. It's one of my favorite things to say to you guys is, do not get out of bed every day and wonder who needs your services. Right? We need a pipeline. That's why prospecting is important, and have that pipeline on a spreadsheet so that you know who needs your services. And they may not need your services today, but I was just texting a friend of mine. She's like, I'm 6 months out. Cool. I'll sell you a house in 6 months because I need the pipeline in 6 months, right? I'm not sad about that. So yeah, do I wish you'd buy something today? Sure. But I need the lead in the future. I'm okay with that. People will trust and follow what you can logically and tangibly explain. So logical, right? Know the market, study the market, be aware what's going on. It was brought up in the gas program yesterday that Buckeye and Queen Creek, I believe it was shared, are having water stuff going on. So if you're selling in those areas, go dust up, right? Learn about what that is. What does that really mean? And then tangible, this is facts, right? What are the facts? Then lastly, it's unacceptable to leave someone's money on the table. And I think if you guys can commit to that, and that's part of your vibe, and that people feel that in your orbit, that's a good thing to have, right? Because as salespeople, we kind of get a bad rap that all we care about is getting paid and getting paid fast. And so if you can have that be a part of your energy and how people engage with you, I think it makes a huge difference, and it leads to that trust factor. And trust is super important in a real estate transaction. Buyer beliefs. So time reveals all. More time you spend with the buyer, more you're going to learn about them, right? So vetting them out. Motivated, qualified, and loyal people buy homes. So are they motivated? Someone who's living with their in-laws, are they motivated? They might say, I don't have a financial commitment of a lease or something that's happening, but if I'm living with my in-laws, with my children and my pets, darn right I'm motivated. Right? I might say whatever, but I am motivated. Qualified, right? Whether that's them getting a loan or showing you proof of funds, they need to be qualified. And loyal means that they're committed to you, right? They're not off looking at houses with multiple people. Having a process reduces the risk that comes with buyers. Some of you have heard me go off on my tangent about doing buyer consultations. It's imperative that you do a buyer consultation. Spend an hour, go through the contract, get your addendum signed. You can't gain their commitment and their loyalty without doing that. Plus, once you get out and you start actually looking at homes, I mean, I did a verbal consultation kind of yesterday, walking through with one of my good friends. Her son wants to buy a house. So, talking to them about that. What does the inspection process look like? These guys have no idea, right? So having a process, sitting down, going through that reduces the risk with buyers, and it also tees them up for success. If they won't meet you, they're not a buyer. I've been a Pop-Tart a lot of times. And what does that mean? Sign call happens. Can you show me this house? So I pop up and run out and show the house. Now, you have to ask the right questions and discern whether or not that person is a risk or someone that you really want to go show. And I've made lots of money doing that. Now, if they won't come back and have a consultation with me and there's red flags, then yeah, I'm not going to work with that person. But will I go show someone that I don't know one house to solidify the relationship or at least begin the relationship? Absolutely. But I'm asking the right questions, right? Do they have a realtor? Where are they at in the process so that I don't get chopped up and stuck in someone's trunk? Okay. Only A buyers deserve your immediate time and attention. Yes, but yes, but if they, let's say they're here for some event that we have in the springtime, they came here for the PGA, right? They're thinking about maybe retiring here. They see your sign on a golf course, so they want to see a house. I will spend a little bit of time with a buyer like that, again, to solidify the relationship for the future. Okay. I'm not going to schlep all over the place, but will I do a consultation, show them a couple houses? Absolutely. Right. So A buyers deserve your immediate attention. Yes, but okay. So there's a caveat to that. All right. So checking your attitude. So becoming your best requires a focused, intentional, and proactive approach. Right. So SPAR, this is actually a book, I believe. I don't know the name of the author, but I believe it is a book. So we want to study. So study the market, study the materials, study your scripts and dialogues, study what's happening. And we talked about that yesterday in the gas program. What's going on in the market? Study the market, be a steward of that. Know all the new home construction, right? Know about the water stuff that's going on. We want to practice. So practice your scripts and dialogues, read them. If you're on a team, role play together. You guys all have access, being that we have an enterprise account with Workman. They do a live role play call every Thursday. I believe it's at 11 o'clock Mountain Standard. You guys are all welcome to join that, right? And role play with people from across the nation that are your colleagues. It's also a good way to grow your network for referrals. And then action, right? So all of the classes that you come to and the things you hear me say or you hear Nate say or webinars or podcasts or books that you read, all of that is great. But if you don't take action, then all of it's wasted. Right? You have to take action. And then we want to reinforce that, right? So reinforce. So come back, take this class again, watch the replay, right? Because I'll promise you I'll tell different stories next time I teach this class. So there'll be something different that's said, right? The market will be different, right? So you want to reinforce that by continuing to spar. So if you desire to master something, you must be willing to spar with a specific intent to improve. I don't know where that is. So looking forward, I'll move you guys back over here. So expireds. Anybody working expireds? No, I'm seeing a bunch of no's. Kristen's working expireds. Okay.
She's just not raising her hand.
Kristen, can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with expireds and have you had any success?
I haven't had much success yet, but what I'm doing is I'm taking a list of expireds and then I'm sending them notes, like letters.
Okay.
Personal written notes, asking them, letting them know who I am and if they would like to list with me and whatnot. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Keep it up. It's a numbers game, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I would send them data too on the market.
And the
Give them-
idea there too, I think Kristen had a good idea in doing the handwritten notes is, as we know from other classes, people actually open those.
Mhm.
And they're not being just, as you said, Sarah, the angry people on the phone.
Right.
And it's also a way for us to get around I think, the do not call list, because we're not calling them.
Yep.
So I think there's many benefits there to a handwritten note.
Yeah. And the script, Kristen, that we teach in Momentum is that I specialize in homes that should have sold that didn't. So you could put that in your note card too. Is that, hi, I just want you to know I specialize in homes that should have sold that didn't. Okay. So this says to be the first one to call. Again, you got to have some thick skin if you're going to be calling people that's the first day of their expired off the market, because they're typically pretty angry and they're getting bombarded with a lot of people. So I think again, personally, especially if you're new to expireds, I would go back that 1 to 3 years or even 5 years to look for inventory. For sale by owners, same thing here. What we teach with for sale by owners is don't try to go in and list the house. Just get your foot in the door to take a look at it. Hey, I have a list of secret inventory. I'd like to add you to it. Could I come by and tour your home? Are you paying a commission? Most sellers that are for sale by owner will offer a co-broke, right? Just tour the house and then come take the for sale by owner class or watch it on the replay. Monetizing your leads, so paying for leads. You guys know how I feel about this, right? So I think you should be working your databases before you go out and start paying for leads. Right. Nate coined the phrase hopium because you guys, agents get addicted to buying leads, hoping it's going to make them money. Right. So work your database first before you do that. Because your database is gold, right? So we got it here on the last slide is that these are the people that are past clients, referrals, more referrals, right? And if you're new, they're not past clients yet, but call them. You never know what seeds you're planting when you talk to people. Okay. And building those relationships. All right, so wrapping us up here. So our advanced prospecting skills, if it's not on your calendar, it's what? It's not going to happen. So all of you get your phones out today, put a phone reminder in your calendar every day, 9 a.m. I'm going to prospect, right? You do that with social media too, because I know some of us struggle with posting stuff on social media. Be logical and clear, practice your scripts and dialogue so that you can handle objections like a champ. I'm going to check your attitude. So those core beliefs that we rolled through today, you see those in many of the classes in Momentum, but I would print that page out and just have it available. Put it at wherever your prospecting station is, have it there and read through those affirmations every day before you pick up the phone and start making calls. I promise you, it will make a difference in your physiology and your mindset. Okay. And becoming your best, we want to have a focused effort and then looking forward to building your database. So continue, we talk about the 3-2-1, right? In stuff that we teach, Nate and I teach 3-2-1 is talk to 3 people in your database every day, try to add 2 new people, and then learn 1 new thing, right? So just our last slide here is that your confidence is in leveraging your prospecting as part of your lead generation. That was our objective in the last 3 classes. And hopefully that's worked, right? Hopefully you do feel confident leaving here that you can go pick up the phone and start prospecting. Understanding specific skills, right? Having your scripts and dialogues, knowing what to say and who to call, knowing who, right? What is our best practices, and then building your database. So above all else, we want to have the right mindset. I think I've kind of beat that horse to death over the last 3 weeks, and I'll continue to do it. That's probably a terrible saying. Y'all should help me come up with something better. Think in unlimited terms. Take your goal and cross through it and double it. Right? Because why? Because we live in a world of abundance. Okay. Your role is to add value. You add value to their lives by making a phone call to them. Right? If something happens in that conversation, go drop them a book. If you find out, hey, yeah, Donna's going to Italy for 3 weeks. So jealous of her. But could you send, if Donna was your client, you found that out, could you drop her something in Amazon to help her with her trip to Italy? Yeah, you could, right? And that's taking that relationship and deepening it because you were really listening, okay, and adding more value. Always have a call list. KV Core's spoon feeding you guys every day. Role play and practice your scripts. Celebrate your successes, right? You have a win. Don't finish your prospecting on a bad note, you guys. If you hit your prospecting on if you're cold calling people, or let's say you're calling expireds, and they tell you realtors suck, don't end your call then. Don't end your prospecting session on that, because tomorrow when it's prospecting comes up again, you're not going to feel high vibe to do it. So make sure you push through and make at least one more phone call. Set up your environment. We talked about this in it was either, I think, first class. Setting up your environment. Look around. Do you have a lot of clutter, right? Is your office or your space inviting? If it's not, change it. Change it so you want to be in there. Okay. Have your rituals. If that's listening to a song, the Rocky theme song, or, doing some jumping jacks or stretches or reading affirmations or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that jacks you up, get in that space so that you have a ritual for success. We want to track everything, right? We want to track everything so we can measure and set our standards. Because again, if you were to diet, what's one thing they tell you? Track your calories, check your steps, track your water. Same thing here. We cannot improve our results if we don't track. Nate will tell you early on, and his mentor, Howard, Nate wanted to play more golf. And Howard said to him, well, how do you know if you're going to play? How will you know if you're playing more golf if you're not tracking it? So started tracking how many days of the week am I playing golf, right? And so we can't improve unless we track. So what gets measured gets done. We've talked about that. Again, put it on your calendar. I hope all of you will take 2 minutes right now and pick a time and put it on your calendar. We want to be logical and clear, and then believe that you can do it. Believe that you can do it. Believe that success that you desire is there for you. It's there for you to take. And, I know we all are stressing about the market and there's blah, blah, blah inventory. There's over 10,000 homes that are under contract. Some of them have contingencies. I get that, but there are homes that are selling, right? There's still 12,000 homes on the market. There's a lot of new home construction out there that I don't even think's in the MLS, right? So there's still opportunities out there. You just have to go get them. Okay. And then be focused. And then again, build your database, right? So continue to try to add people to your database. And that's what I got for you guys. That is a wrap on phone prospecting. I think I had one thing in the chat. Any comments, questions, thoughts? Lisa, I will do that. I think, didn't I already send it to you? I thought I did, but maybe not. Anything you guys got? Any ahas? What time are you putting prospecting in your phone? I think Kristen said
Mine
9
for 1 o'clock.
Yours is 1 o'clock. Kim?
For me, Wednesday, Thursday is between 4 and 6, and the other days are no set time.
Okay, well, let's change that.
Yeah.
I've been
Okay.
doing a lot of mine at 3 o'clock because it's 3 hours later in Atlanta.
Okay, so it's 6 o'clock in Atlanta.
Yeah, so I do it between 2 and 3 because that's usually when people are driving home from work.
Right. I love that. Okay, cool. All right, awesome. All right, you guys. So Thursday, anybody planning on coming on to Thursday that you have not told me? Roberta, you are now. Val, I got you, Val. Roberta, you are now.
I
don't
am.
think you were. And Audrey, you are. Okay.
I meant to email yesterday, sorry.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else that's not on the list? Leslie, are you going? Are you on? Did you already RSVP?
No, I can't make Thursday.
Okay.
Wait, but let me stop. What time Thursday?
9 a.m.
No, I can't make 9.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
And I think I got the rest of you, but Roberta and Audrey, I will add you to the list. So, okay. All right, ladies, if you guys need anything, please reach out. I'm always here for you. I will see you next Tuesday. I don't know what we're teaching, but I'll see you next Tuesday for momentum. So whatever's on the calendar is what's on the calendar. So
Thank
you so much.
Thanks, Sarah.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Have a great day. Bye.